Hi there, I'm Stacey, aka Dolls and Pop, and I'm a writer and artist. A short while ago, I wrote an article that listed almost every crafty hobby that I could think of, including links to where you can find tutorials to learn the hobbies. It took me days to do, and it's an almost definitive list. It became really popular, so I decided that I'm going to try some of them. I'm going to try some of the hobbies that I was talking about. Some of them I already do, some of them I'm already alright at, but I thought we could go through the list together in no particular order. If you would like to read the article, you'll find the link in the description below. Who knows, you might find a new hobby, and that's always good, isn't it? So lately, I really wanted to have a go at needle felting. Needle felting is something that I've done before, but I only did it once. One time, and I got a kit that was supposed to make a cat. But as I was doing it, it didn't turn out very cat shaped. In fact, it looked more like a dog. So what I did was I turned it into a husky, and I gave it to one of my friends who really likes huskies. I decided that I wanted to have another go. It's always fun to stab something a billion times, isn't it? Best do it in a safe and legal way. Always. So I ordered a needle felting kit from Amazon. This one. You can find a link for that as well if you want, but you can just go find one yourself. You just type needle felting kit into the search bar and it should come up. So it's arrived and I thought we could get it out. We could have a look at it together and I'll show you a little bit of needle felting. So in the kit, you get a big bag of brushed wool, which you could probably, if you have like wool for crocheting or like spun yarn of any kind, you could unbrush it, you could brush it all out, and you could probably use that to do needle felting with. You also get a little kit. It's got all the things that you need in it, and a little piece of foam because you don't want to just stab your table, break your needles and have an all round bad time. So basically, needle felting is you just stabbing something until it behaves itself and goes into the right shape. Got some little snips, got some needles, I've got an awl for punching holes, and I've got my needle felting needle, which is kind of cool. It's just like a little wooden device you pop your needle in, and these little finger condoms that stop you from stabbing yourself, which is always good, isn't it? Today I'm going to make a bee because it's a small project that I can do rather quickly, because needle felting, it's easy but it takes a long time. So you get a selection of needles, and the needles are a special shape. They're triangular and they have little tiny barbs on them, so that when you push them into the felt, it grabs the little hairs and pushes it down into the next layer and tangles it all together. Now there's different size needles for different jobs. The bigger, thicker needles are for just the main bulk of the work, because it starts off as just a little ball of fluff and you've got to try and tangle it up until it gets harder and harder and harder, and then you can start adding details with the smaller, thinner hooks. So got some yellow, got some black, got the different hooks. And first of all, they don't really label the hooks, but if you stick them all in a line like that, you stick them all together and you can see height differences for the small, the medium and the large. So I'm going to start off with a large one. I'm going to put it into the awl and I'm going to make a little tiny bumblebee because I absolutely love bumblebees. I think they're small and fuzzy and precious, and if they were bigger I'd hug them. To do this, I'm going to take my face off the screen and just have my hands, and also I'll be able to put my glasses on and actually see for once, because it has really mad reflection with the light that I have. So let's try it together. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is put your needle together. How you do this will depend on which kit you're using. There's a variety of different handle styles to hold your needle. Some needles have plastic holders, some have wood, others have a locking mechanism. Your kit will have instructions showing you how to install the needle and take it out. If you have the same kit as me, you just need to insert your needle into the groove of the wooden locking peg, then put it into the handle. It is worth noting at this point that if your needle handle is the same style as mine, the locking peg will only fit in one direction. One end is tapered slightly thicker than the other, so that the locking peg can only go in one way. I'm telling you this because I spent ages trying to figure out why the locking peg wouldn't go back inside the handle. Grab a small piece of fluff in the colour that you wish to use. I'm making a bumblebee, so I'm starting with yellow. Make sure you have your finger protection on because the needles are really sharp, and when you get into the swing of using it, it can be incredibly easy to accidentally poke a hole through your digit with some force, and it really hurts. Start by rolling your fluff into a round shape. The fibre doesn't really stick well together with hand rolling, so it'll be quite loose to start with. Make sure you hold it tightly before you start prodding it. Start by using the thickest needle to build up a firm shape. Just start stabbing the needle into the fluff. It's literally as easy as that. Make sure that you turn your work regularly. This is really important. As I said earlier, each needle has a triangular shaped shaft with 3 flat sides. Each of these sides is covered in little tiny microscopic hooks. These hooks are small enough to grab a few hairs at a time and push them into whatever's below. This means that when you poke through the fluff and you hit the mat below with those tiny little strands, the fibre will get pushed into the material of the mat. So if you don't turn your work regularly, it'll end up fusing together, and when you try and pull it away, you'll have to give it a good hard tug and it'll just distort the shape. So just keep turning and poking your work, and after a few minutes you'll see and feel the changes in density. If there's a lumpy bit, just stab it into shape. If there's a few stray hairs, I tend to whisk my needle around before I push it in, kind of like picking up spaghetti. During the early stages, where I'm trying to get the shape bulky and firm, I do a mega stab sewing motion, where I stab repeatedly as fast as possible without pulling the needle all the way out. Once a tip is nearly out, I just move it so that it's almost like a carving motion. It seems to work, but I'm not sure yet if it's the best method. It hooks more hairs in a smaller area, and it really helps to build the shape, but I'm also slightly worried that the sewing motion might cut through the fibres. I'm still unsure of this method because in my mind, even if the fibres are cut in half, it just gives more ends to push in and it'll just create a thicker, sturdier piece. Hey, I'm new to this too, so if you're a needle felting pro, I would love to hear your advice and techniques. Let me know in the comments. Am I doing this right? I don't know. I'm starting by just getting the shape of the bee, making a sort of skeleton on which I can build up more felt features. Bees consist of 3 different body sections: the head, the thorax and the abdomen. I started by making a yellow oval shape for the thorax, and then I used a smaller piece of fluff and made a dark circular ball shape for the head. When I got the felt out of its bag, I realised that it wasn't actually black, it was a very dark brown, and that the kit didn't actually contain a black or a white. I continued to use it anyway just to see how it turned out. I didn't really think it would make much difference to the overall outcome, and I figured it would make the eyes more noticeable. My bee probably looks a bit strange, and that's because I'm actually making a specific species of bee. I really like the colours and patterning on bilberry bumblebees. They have a gorgeous bright orange abdomen as well as the usual black and yellow stripes. It has a kind of dusky pink hue to it, so I tried mixing orange and pink together. It turns out that I didn't really have to do this, as I needed to add way more layers to get the desired shapes and patterns. I just line up each piece where I want them to go, and then I just stab the crap out of them until it sticks together. You'll notice that the thicker they get the felt, the more noticeable the thick needle holes will be. When you get to this stage, you can switch to a different size. It'll be leaving little holes in your work, so you'll definitely notice it. I used a medium needle to craft a skinny bee waist and stick the main patterns down. After cinching the waist, I padded out the abdomen to really give it that shape, and I just go over the entire piece, refining it and smoothing out any lumps. Once everything's stuck in the right place, I switch to the finest needle. This part can take literally hours, so find something good to binge watch. Finally, I use the awl and I put some holes in the head for the eyes, which need trimming down a bit so that they fit into the head. Now I use super glue on this step, even though I knew it was a risky idea, so consider this your warning. Super glue has a heat reaction, so when you use it on wool yarn, use it at your own risk, because it can and will set your shit on fire. The wings were the hardest part because I wanted to keep them translucent, so I had to keep them really thin, and because of that they kind of went wonky and weird, so I used the shears to get them both the same size. We all love a bit of symmetry, don't we? The firmer it'll be, the less fuzz it'll have, but it will still be fuzzy, so any excess fuzz can be taken off by using the shears very carefully and very gently, just trimming all those excess hairs on the surface. Once you get the hang of needle felting, you'll realise that there's all sorts of things that you can make, and you might want to try a bigger project. If you're making a bigger project, you need to make the skeleton out of something completely different, otherwise you're going to waste a lot of yarn. Maybe tin foil or newspaper or something packed very tightly, which you can build up onto. In art, this is called an armature. It's like a skeleton, and it helps the figures become bendable, posable, and it just gives the whole piece a sturdy but lightweight frame so that your overall piece isn't too heavy and it isn't just eating up all your yarn. You should also find out what colours of yarn you are using and buy larger packets of them, because the packs that you get in the kits are small and meant only for small little projects. This has to be one of the simplest hobbies for anyone to be able to get into. Even if you're not very crafty, you can still make something. It's not great for kids because there's lots of sharp bits, but if you're just wanting something that you can do with your hands while you're watching the telly, then this is definitely it. It's cheap, easy, but it's time consuming. It's also worth noting that the tools that you buy in the kit can be used across a range of different crafts. You can use them in doll making, crochet, all sorts really. In a second we're going to take a look at my finished bumblebee. So it's now several hours later. Oh my gosh, this took such a long time. So there we have it, needle felting. It takes absolutely hours, but you can make cool little things with it. And the important part is that we tried it together. And I made a cute little bumblebee. Look, check that out. What do you think? I'm going to make him some little wire legs in a different video and give him some more refining, because he could do some more refining, but that's going to take a lot more hours with that needle. And look how tired I am. Look how red my eyes are. I've been sat here for hours just stabbing things. Might make a little... Oh, that's cute. Might make a cute little hair slide. Oh, yeah. So there we have it. We tried it together. And I recommend it. You can watch TV while you're doing it. That's pretty good. Ooh. Yeah, I think I'm going to do a hair thing with it. It looks super cute. I like that. Tried it together.